Hey everybody, how we all doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are enjoying this nice little Saturday. As always, I want to, send out, some good vibes out there for the people that are quarantined right now. Everybody, hopefully they're enjoying their time with their loved ones and they're just making the best out of, everything in this whole situation going on right now. And, hopefully everything is fine and hopefully this whole thing goes over soon. And then for the people that are um that are essential and that do have to go to work, like truck drivers, some other places, I hope you guys are doing good too. Hopefully you guys are being safe out there. We're thinking of you, hopefully everything goes good and hopefully everything is, you're playing it safe out there too, taking every precaution you can. And hopefully, this thing boils over soon. And like I said, hopefully everything just goes well soon because the sooner we all do our part, the sooner this whole thing goes away and the sooner everything just gets back to normal. And, with that being said, as always, my name is Juan Rodriguez. I usually go by Junior for the people that know me. This video is coming to you live from YouTube Live, and then also I have a Facebook Live going on right now that I would put up after this video a link if you guys want to join in. It's a bunch of family friends that are all sports fanatics, and we talk about everything from football to baseball to anything you can think of. It's all one big discussion, it's all one big debate, and we just have fun with it. And like I said, let's hopefully everybody's enjoying their Saturday night, and we will get this show on the road. So today we are going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, and this is a team, as far as I can remember, it's just one big story after the other. Um, what I mean by that, as far as I can remember watching, football, like my very first memories of football, the Browns have always been, you know, always on the quarterback carousel, always on the coaching carousel, and it just seems like they can never find the right people. They can never find the right people. They've done every route possible. They've hired excellent general managers. It didn't work out. They've hired coaches. It didn't, coaches that were, highly recommended, didn't work out. And, quarterbacks galore, man. I, I can't even name you how many quarterbacks I've seen the Browns start, between the Browns and my Raiders. It's just bad. It's just this decade, the last, couple decades for the Browns, it hasn't been what it is. I remember watching the Browns weren't even the Browns. They were actually the Ravens, and they got disbanded when I started watching football. They moved to Baltimore, and now they're the Ravens. And then they started the franchise again in '99, and these are the new Browns. And it's just weird. It's just one of those weird things because I don't remember the Browns. Like I remember the new Browns, like these new Browns. This is an expansion franchise. There's people that are a little bit older than me that knows the old Browns, but they know them as the Ravens. It's just a weird thing. And if you guys want more on that, there's a good documentary on NFL Network. It's called Cleveland '95. It talks about the Browns' final season in Cleveland and how they found out they were going to move to Baltimore and just the derailing of that team that had such high hopes and actually very high hopes as far as Super Bowl aspirations. It just came crashing down when, they said they were going to move to Baltimore and they did. And I started watching, and I don't remember the Browns as the Browns. I know them as Baltimore, and then the Browns are expansion. So this is the new Browns. And it always seems that they were always for a new head coach, a new quarterback. It can never get right. And, the Browns, the last few seasons, they've had three different head coaches. Hugh Jackson went 0-16, and then he got fired the following season after another horrific start. They bring in Freddie Kitchens to be the intern. Then that season um, they put in Freddie Kitchens as the new head coach, and then just this past season they fired him, and now they have a new head coach. Again, another head coach for Cleveland. It's got to be the offseason if it's, the Browns hiring a new guy. It never fails. Kevin Stefanski. Now, this guy, he's been in the NFL for a long time. And um, as early as 2006, he was with Minnesota from 2006 to 2019. So he's been with the Vikings for all this time. And, from 2006 to 2008, he was the assistant to the head coach. Then from 2009 2013, he was assistant to the quarterbacks coach. Then from 2014 to 2015, they promoted him to tight ends coach. 2016, they said running backs coach. 2017, 2018, quarterbacks coach. And somewhere in the middle, between the 2018 Viking season, they named him interim head offensive coordinator. They fired the old offensive coordinator. They put him as an intern, and then this past offseason was his first full year as the offensive coordinator. And it didn't look good in the beginning, but then they just clicked. Everything just all clicked from Minnesota. Excuse me. It all clicked from Minnesota, and no, it's not that. But it all clicked from Minnesota, and they made it work. They made it to the playoffs. They lost in the divisional round, but Minnesota had a good year, and that was enough for Cleveland to hire him. It's just what can I say? It's a real tragedy. The Browns are one of those franchise you look at and you say, well, without the Browns, there really is no NFL. And I know people around my age, that's like a joke. But if you really know the history of the NFL and you actually do take time to do research, there's a few teams where you can say, they are the NFL. The Packers, they're NFL. The Bears, the Browns, they really are the NFL. Like you can't really tell the history of the NFL's beginning without a few franchises that are still in the NFL. And going all the way back to Otto Graham, to Paul Brown, to Jim Brown, it's just the history of riches for the Cleveland Browns is there. It's just recently now, it's sort of on the back burner. People like my age and a little bit younger, they don't remember that. They don't remember that unless you're like a football junkie, you love history. You only know the Browns as losers. I think I've only seen the Browns once in the playoffs in my whole life, and it's a shame, really. It's a shame, really, what's happened to them. They shouldn't really be in this situation, but this is just, I don't know if they're cursed. I don't know if they just have bad luck. They can't put it together. I don't know if it's ownership. I don't know if we don't know what it is. It's just, it could never work. I don't know if there was like a million black cats that walked in front of their stadium when they came back in 99, and it's been hell ever since. We don't know. There's a joke, I'm sure we've all seen it, where there's a store in Cleveland, and every year it seems like they have to put a new name on the jersey of a Browns, of the quarterback, who's going to be the new quarterback. It seems like every year it's just something like that. And, to Joe's point, you laugh. Yeah, a million black cats. We don't know what it is. They just have the worst luck. And, last year was supposed to be a good year. Instead, they finished 6-10. And what I mean by that, it was supposed to be a good year, is because it was promising. Baker Mayfield looked promising as a rookie. Nick Chubb is a workhorse. They traded for Odell. They have Jarvis Landry. They now have Austin Hooper. Like, you look at that talent and you're like, why isn't it clicking? We don't know if it was coaching. We don't know if it's just not everybody's clicking together. We don't know. And it's a shame, really. The dog pound deserves better than this. I have a soft spot for the Browns because, me being a Raider fan, it's like, man, there was years where it's like, man, the Raiders are terrible, but at least we're not the Browns. It's like the dog pound deserves better. And I hope this Kevin Stefanski kid or guy, whoever he is, he works for the Vikings, so he must know something. I hope he's the guy to turn it around, because I don't know how many more times Cleveland can do another coaching change, another quarterback change. I don't know. I don't know. But, with all that being said, Cleveland really did lose a key piece in Joe Sherbert, as I mentioned a couple videos ago. They lost Joe Sherbert, but they lost Jamie. It's just, one thing after another. People are just, heading out of the town. Joe Hayden is now with the Steelers now for a couple of years, who's been a longtime Brown. It's just one of those things where it's like, the Browns, when you look at the names on paper, it's like, oh man, the talent's there. It's just the wins aren't accumulating. I don't know what's happening, but you know, we don't know. It's just one of those things where seems like it never works. I'm sure you could give them every All Pro from last year, and somehow they would end up again 6-10. That's just their luck. It sucks, but that's just the cards they're dealt with right now, and hopefully, that their fortune changes soon because, like I said earlier, the dog pound deserves better. They're loyal as hell. I have a couple friends who are Cleveland fans. They are loyal as hell. You know, I respect that. And I understand where they're coming from. It's it's really hard to put up your hard-earned money on season tickets, knowing that your team is always letting you down. I've done that one too many times. Okay, yeah, I can attest to that. People that know me, I've been a season ticket holder for the Raiders now for a while, and out of all those years I was season ticket holder, only one winning season, only one. But when you love a team that much, you just have hope. Like that's kind of what it is. It's these guys. Cleveland is really in a bad economic situation right now. Even before this whole thing was going on, they were kind of bad, as a whole. But the Browns, it always seemed like that was kind of their hope. Like that's the hope is the Browns are finally going to turn it around. And hopefully, I hope for the sake for every Browns fan and all my friends that are Browns fans out there, I hope for their sake, I hope it does because you guys have been suffering long enough. I hope you guys have a good year this year. So, with that being said, they were busy in the offseason by bringing in free agents and really good names in free agency. Austin Hooper, as I mentioned earlier, he left Atlanta. He signed with Cleveland, so now they got a solid tight end who's actually under the radar, a really talented tight end that doesn't get a lot of recognition. He really deserves a lot. And I think with this, hopefully he can help out the team's turnaround. Another one that I thought was good was Jack Conklin, the longtime tackle for Tennessee, is now a Brown. So he's going to solve that right tackle issue over there. So they finally have a solid right tackle that they've been missing. And I think that's the key problem is, that offensive line is just I mean, Alex Mack was there at one point, and it's a shame because the situation is bad when you have a former first rounder in Alex Mack, who's now in Atlanta, who opted out of his contract to take $8 million less to play for another team. Another team. He literally said, I will take $8 million less to leave Cleveland to go play in Atlanta. That just shows you the situation the Browns are in. Pretty much the situation is if you're going to play for the Browns, it's either you're finishing up your contract or you're looking for your last big paycheck. That's the joke. That's the joke around the NFL, and that's the joke around Cleveland is, and it sucks. Like I hate seeing that. It's just that's kind of the truth, and that's kind of where everybody is. And then they also signed a lot of defensive back players. I think that was interesting, knowing the fact that they have Denzel Ward and Greedy, who they drafted last year. I figured, maybe another corner in this year's draft, but they signed Carl Joseph, the safety from the Raiders, which, I'm a little hurt by that one, but it's just business, and I hope he does good there. They signed Kevin Johnson, another former first rounder who's trying to maybe change the scenery for him is good. Maybe he can be the spark. Who knows? And then Andrew Sendejo, who was a longtime Viking, is now in the backfield. So now you have Denzel Ward, you have Greedy, Joseph, and Sendejo at the free safety spot. That's as balanced as a secondary you're going to get, and that's a pretty good that's a pretty good balanced secondary. You got the youth, you have the experience, and I thought those were great signings. And then they signed Andrew Billings, a longtime nose tackle. He's a two down player, but I mean, you want to stop the run. That's the best way to go is get you a guy like Andrew Billings who's can plug up two defensive tackles with his size. He's just that big. And the Browns did it right. It's a shame that they lost Joe Sherbert, but like I said, business is business. He went to another team, and that was kind of the end of it. And I think the big story for the Browns, it wasn't just their record; it was actually the Myles Garrett incident. That Thursday night game, the Browns just, they got the Steelers that time, and it was like, okay, that was a good one for the Browns. The Steelers just got dominated, and then right before the game was over, I think there was only like 9 seconds left, something like that. Um, Mason Rudolph was playing. He was a starting quarterback. He had a bad game, and it happens. It's just the Browns just got the better of him that night. What happened was Myles Garrett. We've all seen the video. He snapped the ball, handed it off to the running back, and what Myles Garrett initially said was he believed that Rudolph still had the ball, so he took him down. What he also mentioned was Mason Rudolph said some racial slurs. We don't know that much. We don't know because neither of them were mic'd up that night. I find it weird that the NFL's always mic'd up everywhere, but you can't get that exchange between those two guys. And sure enough, Myles rips his helmet off. Uh, Garrett tries to kick him. He stands up, and they separate him. Villanova and Pouncey, they separate Garrett and Mason, which I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is all Mason's fault. I mean, you got separated. No need to attack him anymore. No need to charge at him anymore. He still has your helmet. Like that's the thing. Like you have to put this in your head. He still has your helmet. No need to charge at him. They already separated you guys. But Mason made the decision to charge at him, and Garrett and his instincts said, "Okay, well, you're gonna kick me in the where the sun don't shine. You're gonna kick me in family jewels. I'm gonna take a swing at you, and I'm gonna hit you with your own helmet." And am I saying that was the right thing to do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was terrible. I've never seen that. We've seen fights. I think the most memorable I saw was the Cortland Finnegan and Andre Johnson. That was a cool one, but I've never seen to extent where a man swung a helmet at another player. I've never seen that. Um, it could have been worse. He did get him, but it could have been much worse. I don't know. For me, I'm glad they reinstated him because that was kind of a looking at it both ways. You know, it was yeah. You feel bad for Mason, but at the same time, no need to charge at him. And the thing was, he didn't get suspended. We don't know the reasoning why the NFL really just doesn't. Their suspensions are just all lame. I've seen crazy suspensions that make you say, like this is the NFL at its finest. I mean, I think the punishment was made for Mason was that I think the punishment was more for the Steeler fans that Mason had to be the remainder, the quarterback for the remainder of the season, and that just was terrible. And so we'll see what happens now. Now Myles Garrett is reinstated, and so he'll be back in the fold. And now you have a defensive line of Myles Garrett, Andrew Billings, and Oliver Vernon, and the defense is set. The defense is set, and I think a lot of people in the beginning, if you were to say, who do you think the Browns would take? I think there was rumors that Odell might get traded. Not going to happen. He has too much of a high price tag for him to be traded at this time. Um, you know, tight end. We all thought tight end, but at 10, that's a little too high, especially in this draft class where there's really not a solid tight end. Like last year's was good group. This year's kind of like, maybe one gets in, but other than that, you're not going to see two tight ends drafted in the first round like you saw last year. And then Um, Running back, maybe, but again, Nick Chubb's a workhorse. If you draft a running back at 10, it just makes no sense because one value and one, what are you telling Nick Chubb that he's only going to be there for four and all right, see you later. But with all that being said, it is now time for my prediction for what I believe the Browns are going to do for their 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Ah, that sounds so beautiful, man. And to think we're only a month away before we hear it on live TV. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So here we go with the 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. My prediction is the Cleveland Browns select Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, Louisville. I know it's probably not the sexiest pick, but BPA, man, best player available. And Joe, ever since Joe Thomas left, they've been trying to find that void for they tried with a stopgap, and then they went to an undrafted rookie. It didn't work out, and I think now's just the time. You just draft them and you go for it. And for the people that don't know about Mekhi Becton, the best way I could put Mekhi Becton is he makes the Empire State Building look small. And here's what I mean by that: 6'7", 357 pounds, an arm length of 35 and 3/4. That's a lot of arm length. Hand size 10 and 3/4. Can you imagine getting slapped by that thing? And his combine was really, really exceptional. He just surprised everybody. He made everybody take a look at him. And I think before even the whole who's going where, they had a very high grade on him. And after the combine, it just solidified that he's going to be a top 15 pick easily top 15. There's not a reason where I think he falls out of the top 15. And crazy, but there's nobody believes that he'll be out of the top 15. It's just what it is. And he ran a really good 40 for a man that size. He ran a 40 in 5.10 of a second, and he had a 1.8 10-yard split, which is he had to compare him. You can only go to so many offensive tackles of his size because there's offensive tackles that are only 6'5", 6'4", and that's kind of like the average size nowadays. Orlando Brown and Trent Brown are probably the only two I can compare him to. Excuse me. He's just one of those guys that he had a faster 10-yard split than Trent Brown. He had a faster 40 than Orlando. He had a better bench press than Orlando, and Orlando's a pretty strong man, and he still outbeat him. He had a better vertical than Trent, who he's an inch taller, and that's the thing. He weighs 8 pounds more than Trent, and he still ran faster than him. That's a scary sight. And he's super athletic for his size. He's just one of those things that doesn't come out very often, and it just makes you say, "Holy crap! What a mammoth of a man that's charging at you!" And if you're a corner and they do a toss and he's pulling, move out of the way. There's just no point of you trying to go up there because you're gonna have a bad day. You're just gonna have a very bad time if you're gonna try to go around that man. And he's just one of those great athletes. He was first team All ACC selection. And started 34 out of 43 games. He was runner-up for the best offensive lineman for the country, and that's just that will really help where this team wants to go. Because if this were to happen, now you have Becton at the left, you have Joel Bettino at the left guard, you have J.C. Treader, who's actually a really undervalued center in the league, and then you have Jack Conklin, and then whether you want to go with J.D. Webb as your right guard, if you want to pick up another offensive lineman down the road, there's plenty of guards out there this year too. But like I said, this is just the first round. So I think going him in the first round, I think it's just a no-brainer for the Browns. Get you a man who's gonna, protect Baker, and maybe that'll open up everything more for him. Because, like I said, ever since Joe Thomas left, that's really been a big void. And offensive linemen don't really get the credit they deserve because Joe Thomas was, the sequential ultimate left tackle since he stepped on the field. Then he got hurt, and then he retired, and the Browns have been looking for a left tackle ever since. And when you lose a left tackle like that, it's just so much harder to make your offense move. And that's the thing. I think with this pick, he's going to have some hiccups because athletically he's good. There's still improvements in his game that he can do, but I look at him and you just, you can't teach 6'7", you can't teach, 357. And the scary thing is he's still going to grow into his body. So, I mean, I think this is a no-brainer for the Browns. Mekhi Becton from Louisville, offensive tackle. And on that note, that'll be it for this video. I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you guys for commenting. Just one more thing. Do we have any others on the videos on ours? No? We're good? Nobody said nothing? We all good? No. All right. So on that note, tomorrow it will be the New York Jets. Now we're heading into pick 11. This is going to get a little interesting now because now we're at the point where the Jets have to really assess everything going on, especially the season they had. They just thought they were finally going to get something with Le'Veon Bell. Maybe that'll open up for Sam Darnold. It didn't work out that way, and now they really have to assess everything. And the Jets right now are one of those teams where they have to pull through, or else by next season, a bunch of heads might be coming off, and they have to figure this out. But more on that tomorrow. I thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Everybody have a wonderful Saturday night. Enjoy time with your loved ones, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.